Welcome to the Mid Week Tease with me, Adelle Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, I want to talk about something that I have been writing about a lot, something that I'm being more intentional about. And this is how we make pain our identity. And the thought I've really been sitting with and writing about and trying to action in my life is a question. What if many of us have become so familiar with pain that we've accidentally made it our identity? Generally, let me just call myself out on this. I think I did this for the longest time. I want to say for probably most of my 20s. It's not something that I did intentionally. It's not something I was conscious about. I don't even really shit on myself for it because I think I was still trying to navigate my way around very many painful experiences. But when I look back, I feel like I ended up speaking up so much about those experiences that they became my identity. And I remember having a conversation with my manager, I want to say when I was in my late 20s, and just making the intentional decision to, number one, not talk about anything to do with my experience with sexual abuse. I remember telling her, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do interviews. No. I think what was happening then is I was beginning to find parts of my identity that were so full of light and that didn't identify with pain anymore. And then I saw it sip into even my conversations around better governance or women's rights, etc. I remember saying I woke up one day and before my speaking out, my activism, if you want to call it, came from anger, came from pain. And one day I woke up and it was coming from love. It was coming from softness. And again, it's something that I fully attribute to my identity suddenly because of, I guess, the work that I was doing on myself, suddenly becoming rooted in light and parts of me that were light and not in pain. It didn't mean that these things weren't important to me. It just meant that what was fueling them was different. And I think this happens to a lot more of us than we're willing to admit, And in this episode, I don't want to pretend that pain doesn't exist. Pain is real. Heartbreak is real. Grief is real. Disappointment, betrayal, trauma is real. And so I'm not really leaning towards, think positive thoughts, magically move on. No, yes, your pain deserves to be acknowledged. Your pain deserves compassion. But I have been wondering whether many of us, especially women, have become so focused on our pain that we've stopped making room for our joy. Do you get what I mean? That we've become so committed to surviving that we don't really know, or maybe we've forgotten how to live. And that's what I want to explore. I want you to think about how you introduce yourself to yourself, not to other people, to yourself. So what are some of the stories you tell you about who you are? Okay. So for many of us, those stories would sound like, I've been through so much. I've had to be strong all my life. I've been hurt. I've been abandoned. I've been disappointed. I've had to carry everyone. I've survived things that should have broken me. Right? Now, let me just say something. All of those things may be true. But are they all that is true? There could be more, right? Because if I asked you who you are outside of your struggles, what would you say? Who are you when you're not healing? Who are you when you're not surviving? Who are you when you're not processing something? Who are you when you're not recovering from someone else's choices? I think that becomes a very difficult question for many women to answer because somewhere along the way, our wounds became all that we are. And I get it. I understand why. As I told you early on, that was me, because pain is often the thing that shapes us most dramatically, right? It's a hot slap in the face. It changes us, it forces us to grow, it teaches us. But there is a balance. There's a balance that allows you to not become so attached to the lessons that we forget that there is a life beyond them. Honestly, when I think about even something like grieving my mom, it was dramatic. It changed me. It forced me to grow. It taught me so much, in a twisted way. I'm almost thankful, right? And I wrote about this year on my mom's death anniversary. I said, I have now allowed myself to be more than the grieving daughter. You get what I'm saying? And, I think about how often women are praised for suffering. You know what I mean? Like the woman who sacrifices everything for everyone, who stays in her marriage for 50 years and makes the speech at the wedding saying how difficult it was, but look how I vumiliated and kept going. The woman who keeps giving when she has nothing left, she never complains, she endures. We're told, we're strong, and it's such a compliment. She's selfless, she's a good woman. But when a woman prioritizes herself and her joy and her rest and saying no, her boundaries, when she leaves, when she protects her peace, suddenly she's difficult, she's selfish, she's too much, she's not enough. And I really think that this does contribute to us beginning to believe or continuing to believe that suffering is proof of worth. And then now we build our identity around that and we clutch onto our pain and to our struggle, and we start to think that if something doesn't hurt, it doesn't count. If something has ease, we're like, suspicious, We start to think that if we aren't carrying something heavy, we're not doing life correctly. And I've seen that with myself, and I'm actually rewiring. On the days where I look at my life and it really is the life I've always wanted. It's slow, it's peaceful, it's surrounded by nature, it's calm. I am the owner of my own time. I work with incredible individuals. I'm able to pay my bills, to have a roof over my head, to eat well. I can drum first thing in the morning. I can go for a walk first thing in the morning. I can listen to music. You know what I mean? There are points where I'm going through my day and I think, oh my God, I don't deserve this. It's too calm. It's too calm. Something's wrong here. I'm not working hard enough. I don't deserve this. And part of it is this belief we have that pain is what makes us valuable. And we've got to start asking, why do we trust suffering more than joy? Why do we think exhaustion is evidence that we're living meaningful lives? Who taught us that, and why did we believe them? And there's something else I've been thinking about. I wonder if some of us have accidentally made pain our God. And I don't mean in a religious sense. I mean that pain becomes the center of everything. It gets our attention, our focus, our energy, our devotion. We feel off when it's not there. We revisit it constantly. We organize our lives around it. We make decisions from our pain. We protect it. We nurture it. We feed it. Sometimes we even know our wounds better than we know our desires. We know exactly who hurt us. We know what happened. We know what was said. We go over it over and over and over again. But ask us what delights us. Silence. Ask us what excites us. What makes us feel alive. Silence. That is very telling to me. Because yes, as I said earlier, pain does deserve acknowledgement, but it does not deserve the throne. There's a difference between honoring your pain and building a home inside it. There's a difference between learning from your wounds and living inside them forever. Dude, at a point we have to ask ourselves, what am I healing towards? You know, what does that look like? And not just keep asking ourselves, what am I healing from? At a point, healing must create space for living. And I think this is where a lot of us get stuck. We become incredibly skilled at analyzing our pain. We can explain our attachment styles, our childhood wounds, our triggers, our fears, our patterns. And that's valuable. That's very important work. I mean, that's part of the information that we create here at Legally Clueless Africa for you to understand. But eventually, there has to be another chapter, a chapter where the goal isn't simply to understand your pain. The goal is to experience your life, laugh, create, build, dream, connect, be present, be alive. Now, I recently came across the work of Audre Lorde, who wrote about the erotic, not simply from like a sexual or sexuality standpoint, but as a source of power, aliveness, creativity, satisfaction, and deep feeling. And I really love that framing, because when I say pleasure, I don't just mean sex. I mean delight. I'm in a chapter of my life, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably noticed I've posted about this a lot. I keep saying you must find great delight in your life. So when I say pleasure, I mean delight, I mean joy, I mean wonder, curiosity. I mean the feeling of standing in your garden and noticing a new leaf. I mean laughing until your stomach hurts. I mean listening to music that makes your soul come alive. I mean sharing a meal with people that you love. I mean watching the sunset or the sunrise. I mean creating something. I mean feeling deeply connected to yourself. Pleasure. Pleasure isn't frivolous. Delight is not frivolous. Joy is not frivolous. These things are not rewards that we earn after suffering enough. No. Oh my God, no. They are part of being alive. And sometimes I wonder whether women have been taught to feel guilty for joy, to feel guilty for ease. Like I'm telling you, I'm having a nice, calm day that's full of ease, and suddenly I feel guilty for that. Suddenly in my head, I start telling myself, well, you know, you've been working since you were 16. You deserve this. No, I don't have to earn this after suffering. What do you mean? This is just part of life. You know, and we've been taught to feel guilty for ease and for pleasure and for simply enjoying our lives. It's as though our purpose is to endlessly endure. You know, it's as though our purpose is to constantly just be carrying heavy things. It's as though our purpose is to always be overcoming something. But I don't think that's true. I really think delight is part of the assignment. Beauty is part of it too. Joy is in there somewhere. Pleasure is inside there. I don't think life is asking us to become experts in suffering and get a PhD in that. I feel like life is extending an invitation to us to become participants in our own aliveness, which means becoming participants in the pleasure and in the joy as well. So I want to leave you with a few questions. Who are you outside of your wounds? What parts of yourself have been overshadowed by your pain? What brings you genuine delights? What makes you feel alive? And when was the last time you gave those things as much attention as you have given your struggles? Because, dude, like, pain will visit all of us. It will teach us, it'll shape us. But it was never meant to be your identity. It was never meant to become your God. You are more than what happened to you. You are more than what hurt you. You are more than what you survived. And personally, I think a huge part of healing is allowing yourself to believe that joy and pleasure and beauty and curiosity and wonder and laughter and delight and aliveness belong to you too. And they belong to you now, not at someday, after you've healed, after you've earned them. No, right here, right now. If you connected with this episode, please share it with someone that you love. Thanks for listening to the Mid Week Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.